guys, so tonight I'm going to be making homemade meatballs with homemade spaghetti noodles. So first I'm going to show you what you're going to need for your meatballs, and that is some ground hamburger. I'm using 80/20, but you can use a lot leaner than that. I'm using a half of a red, a yellow, and a green bell pepper, and a small onion. Some baby Bella mushrooms. I like using these because they're more flavorful than the white ones. A half of a stick of butter, 2 tablespoons of dried chives, 1 tablespoon of savory seasoning, 1 tablespoon of garlic salt, 1 tablespoon of onion salt, and 1 tablespoon. Can I talk? Jesus, 1 teaspoon of paprika. And then you're also going to need a jar of your favorite spaghetti sauce, which this is my favorite. So whatever is your favorite spaghetti sauce, go ahead and use that or make your own homemade. If I made my own homemade, it would probably make the video like 40 minutes long, and I don't want to do that. So, and then what I measure my spices with is just a large spoon, a tablespoon, versus a teaspoon. And I can't find my measuring spoons right now, so I just use a large spoon to measure the tablespoon or teaspoon. Okay, so for your pasta, you need some all-purpose flour. You're going to need 3 eggs. I don't know why I have the whole carton. And you're going to need some extra virgin olive oil. I believe that is all we're going to need, but knowing me, I probably forgot something, and if I did, I will tell you while we're cooking. Alright, I will be right back and show you our first steps. I was right, and I forgot. You're going to need a pack of Ritz crackers, and that's the one thing I forgot, but I might have forgotten something else. Who knows? We'll figure it out as I go. Keep watching. Alright, so we are going to start out with our hamburger. I have 4 pounds of hamburger, and I'm using 4 pounds because it's 80/20, and when I cook it, it's going to shrink down a lot. So that's why I'm using 4 pounds. I'm going to start out by adding my seasonings. That was my chives. It's paprika. Here's my savory. Onion salt. Garlic salt. And I'm just going to get in here with my hands. And the reason I like doing this part first is so the seasonings can really get in and penetrate the meat, make it really flavorful. Because this is going to sit while you're cooking your bell peppers and onions. So it'll give it time to marinate a little bit. So before we start our bell peppers, you want to get your Ritz and slowly start crunching them. You don't want to crunch them all crazy, because if you start like going all crazy crunching them, you'll bust the bag open and make a huge mess. So just see my bag busted open. But you just want to lightly crunch them until they're all in little crumbles. So now that you have your Ritz all crushed up, you're going to add them to your meat mixture, the whole pack. And then, alas, I forgot an ingredient. You're going to need 2 eggs. So there's 1, 2, and then you're going to go back to mixing again. So you just want to mix everything so it's nice and even. And the reason I do all this part before making the veggies is so the crackers have time to absorb all the juices and stuff, so they're not all dry and crusty when you go to cook them. So I'm going to finish mixing this all up, and I'll be right back. So now that your hamburger and crackers and eggs and everything's all mixed up together, we're just going to set this to the side with the plate or paper towel on top of it and let it set while we get the veggies ready. Okay, so now that I have washed all the dirt off my baby Bellas and thoroughly dried them and let them air dry, because you're not supposed to wash your mushrooms because you add too much moisture to them, and when you go to saute them, it renders too much moisture and water, and it makes your mushrooms rubbery, whatever. But you can wash them as long as you let them air dry and get as dry as they were before you wash them. So that's what I do because I don't like eating dirt. And then also a lot of people like to cut off the stems. The only time you have to cut off the stems if it is a full-grown portobello mushroom. The stems tend to be really tough, or a shiitake mushroom. The stems are really tough with shiitakes also. But baby bellas and white caps, those have tender stems, and you can leave the stems on these. They are tasty and yummy. And anyways, so enough of that science fact and culinary fact. I'm going to mince my mushrooms to get them ready to saute to add to our meatball mixture. So once you have minced all your mushrooms, we are going to get ready to saute them in just a regular skillet with a 1/4 stick of butter. So get that ready and hot, and we'll be right back. Now that your pan is nice and hot and you've melted a 1/4 stick of butter, you want to add your minced mushrooms. So you're going to let your minced mushrooms sweat out and then darken up. And once they have no more liquid in them is when you know they're done. So when that happens, I will be back to show you what we do next. So while my other mushrooms are mincing, I'm just going ahead and slicing the rest of my mushrooms. And this is going to be for the spaghetti sauce. So once these ones are done sauteing, they're going to be super delicious, and we are going to let them cool a little bit and then add them to our meatball mixture. So we'll be back in a little bit. Okay, so now that these have crisped up a lot, we're just going to put them into a small bowl. And after putting these into a small bowl, we're going to set them to the side and let them cool. And we're going to use the same pan, and instead of butter, we're going to add just a little bit of olive oil, because we want to cook these on really high heat and only for about 3 minutes just to get some color on them. We don't want to cook them all the way through. We just want to get some color on them, and then we're going to be adding them to our sauce. Okay, so now that our oil is nice and hot, I'm going to throw in our sliced mushrooms. Just a couple. Mix them a little bit. And we're only going to cook these about 3 minutes. Okay, so I've cooked them about 3 minutes, got a little bit of color on them. So now I'm going to add my spaghetti sauce. I swear I cannot talk tonight. I'm using 2 jars because I have a large family and they eat a lot of spaghetti. And they also love leftovers, so I'm making a bunch of spaghetti sauce. So I'm just going to heat this through, and then once it's hot, I'm going to take it off the heat, and we're going to work on our meatballs. We're doing our noodles last because they only take about 2 to 3 minutes to cook. So I'm getting all this done first, so then when the noodles are done, I can serve everything all fresh and hot together. Okay, when your butter's all melted, add your veggies in there. You're just going to let them sweat out, cook down, get a little bit of color on them. Add about half a tablespoon of salt. And I'm going to cook these up and be right back. Alright, so while your veggies are sauteing, it's a perfect time to start on your noodle dough. So we'll move over here. And here I have 3 cups of flour that I'm going to put into a mound. It's a big mound, but I'm making a lot of noodles. You want to make a good size hole so you don't fail like I did last time. Put your 3 eggs in the hole. You're going to want to put 2 tablespoons of water and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Oh, I'm leaking. So you just want to carefully start mixing this around. Oh my god, I'm making a mess. It's bound to happen, but you can get it together eventually. So I will be right back with my dough ball. Okay, when you're done with your dough, it should look a lot like this. So I usually roll my dough out and make my own pasta, but for my present to myself, for getting over 100 subscribers, I got a pasta maker. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to attempt to use that in 1 second. So to start out, since this is way too much dough for this, I'm going to cut it in 3 equal parts. And then I'm going to make little balls out of them. And I'm going to attempt to use this. Okay, so here we go. Wish me luck. Well, I guess it's a good sign that it's coming out. At least this will like go faster. I think it's getting too thick right here. Right there. Okay, now I'm going to fold it in half and go through it a couple more times, and I will be back. Okay, so I decided that I don't know why I never bought one of these before, because it is freaking awesome. You can put the ugliest rolled out pasta in here, and as long as it's thin, come on, and it turns it into spaghetti noodles. Yep. Needless to say, yeah, when I was rolling out my dough, it didn't come out very pretty, but it makes awesome spaghetti noodles. See? They're like perfect. I'm so excited. So I'm going to finish the rest of my dough, which is a lot, and I will be back. Oh, I forgot to add, so I added half my bell peppers and onions to my spaghetti sauce, and then I added the other half with my mushrooms to mix in with my meatballs. So I will be back. So after a huge amount of trial and error, I finally learned how to make my own spaghetti noodles. I made the dough, and then I used the pasta maker, and it came out perfect. And I'm keeping them raw where they're still soft. I'm not hang drying them because I want them to cook really fast. So I'm going to finish up my sauce, which is over here. I'm going to move that to the front. I'm going to start my meatballs, and then hopefully I will be done soon. I'm getting really tired. Be back in a bit. Okay, so now that my noodles are done, I'm going to finish up my meatballs by adding my peppers and my mushrooms. They're nice and cool now. I'm going to mix these in really good. So I will be back in a second. Okay, it's all nice and mixed, and I'm going to start forming my meatballs. And then after I have them all formed, I'm going to fry them up. So I will be back. I don't mind my stove, it's a mess. But anyways, with your pan on high, well, medium high, you're going to take your meatballs and just put them like a finger's distance away from each other. And they are going to shrink down a lot. So don't worry about that. So with as many meatballs as I could fit, I'm going to let those fry up on one side, and then I'm going to flip them until they're evenly cooked on all sides. And in the meantime, you're going to want to get your water for your noodles you want them at a rolling boil before you even put the noodles in. So I have my water starting to boil. And we'll be back to the meatballs in a minute. So I just flipped my meatballs, and this is how they're looking. They're looking really good. There's a lot of fat in the pan, but I'll drain that out when I'm done with this batch of meatballs, because I still have a lot more meatballs to go. So I'll be back when I'm done with my meatballs. So what I'm going to do with my meatballs when they're done, I'm going to put them in a metal bowl and cover them so the internal part will keep cooking in case it's not cooked all the way through. But the outside looks really cooked, so I'm going to take them off the heat because I don't want to burn them. Nothing worse than a burnt meatball. And then I'm going to move on to my next batch of meatballs. Then we're going to do our pasta. And then dinner's going to be done. Woohoo! My kids will stop asking me when dinner's done. Okay, moment of truth for the noodles. I know it's not exactly a rolling boil, but it's boiling enough. So it says just to add a little bit at a time. Oh, I also added about a tablespoon of salt to my water to flavor the noodles. Don't mind my kids in the background. They're hungry and tired and getting at each other's throats. There's the rest. I'll lightly stir them. So they should only have to cook for 3 to 5 minutes. We shall see. Okay, so I just tasted a noodle, and amazingly, it tasted like a spaghetti noodle. So I'm going to drain these. I'll be right back. So in case you never knew, you drizzle your spaghetti with some olive oil and stir it, and it keeps the noodles from sticking to each other. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to get ready to plate. So I will be right back. So here we go for the plating of the homemade meatballs and homemade spaghetti noodles. The reason my spaghetti noodles came out all curly is because I had them sitting in a bowl until I cooked them, so they got kind of curly. But if I had dried them or hung them, whatever, they wouldn't have been curly. They would have been straight, like normal. Maybe one more. This is for my husband, and he always eats a lot. So now for our yummy spaghetti sauce. Yum, yum, yum. And I don't have any Parmesan cheese or anything, so. Alright, well that is my homemade meatballs with homemade spaghetti noodles. So I'm going to try taking a bite of my homemade meatballs with homemade spaghetti noodles. So there's the meatball, some noodles, some sauce. Oh, it's really hot. I dropped my meatball. Yeah, that's like perfection. That's delicious. Thanks for watching, you guys. Bye.